Hey everybody, welcome back to Bonsai Tortoise. Today we're playing with Trident maples. So Trident maples are probably one of the relatively easier deciduous trees to work on. The one good rule to live by with Trident maples is to repot them in the late winter, very early spring, when the buds just start swelling. So right now it's March 24th, and it's time to repot. These trees have not been repotted in probably 5 years, to be perfectly honest with you. What you can't see is going on in the pot. Root growth this time of year for deciduous trees is right about now. When they say the buds start swelling, that's the time to repot. In some trees it's easier to tell than others. So looking at this branch right here, that's a bud and that's a bud. So these buds, I've been watching them, they're getting bigger basically. That's basically what you're looking for, is when the buds get bigger. So if we look at this set of buds here, you have a bud on this side and a bud on that side. And then they alternate too. So you can see that these two on this side, the next set up goes on that side, the next set up goes on that side of the branch. When you use clip and grow method, if I were to flick, I'm not going to do it, but if I were to flick this bud off here, I would get a branch coming out here. If I flick this one off, I would have it coming out here. So you can see that bud kind of goes like that, and this one kind of goes like this. So it's called directional pruning. Whatever way you want that branch to go, that's where you clip to. But if you want two branches to come off that, you clip this middle one off, and you'll have one going this way and one going that way. This tree is definitely not perfect. It's got a really cool nabari though. I love this nabari. These roots in the back, trees in the wild don't necessarily have like aerial roots. So this, at one time this was below ground. That's why they grew like this. But I kind of like them, so I might leave them there. I'm not sure. If I take them off, I'm going to be missing some good root structure back here. So I don't think I'm going to. I could take them off and then graft them lower, but I don't want to do that either. So I think the bari is going to basically stay the way it is, because I kind of like it. Two of the biggest goals of bonsai is to shoot for good taper, and taper is the thickness of the tree. So you want to start with a nice fat trunk. And as you go up, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and that follows up to thinner branches, and they all get thinner and thinner. So that makes it look like more of a natural tree. So taper is important. Another important thing is ramification. So what you want to do is you want that branch to come out, and then you want it to split, and then you want these two branches to split again and keep splitting and splitting and splitting. One way to get really good taper is to decrease the length of the internode. So an internode is right here. There's a bud there where my finger is right here, and then right here there's another set of buds. So that's your internode. So as you continue to cut back your trees and just prune them appropriately, these internodes, this space between here and here, get shorter and shorter and shorter. So next time I cut back, instead of this distance right here, I might have this distance right here to cut back to, because the next set of branches might come right here. So then your branching gets closer, which increases your ramification, which makes it look like an older, more refined tree, and with thicker branching. So, first thing I'm going to do, I have this set of buds right there, and you just keep going around. So you find the closest buds that you can. This one is right there. That's gone. And I'm just going to keep going around. That's all the pruning I'm going to do. I did see a couple branches that I do need to wire. You have some crossing branches here, and I want to keep these branches, so I'm going to have to wire this one kind of over that way and mess with these two so they don't get too close. There's some branches I want to keep, but I will have, if you look at this tree, I'm not sure if you can tell or not, but I'm going to have a half decent pad here, a half decent pad here, some back branching a little bit, Maybe I'll bring these down as a pad. This branch does need to get thicker, so I left these a little bit longer than I normally would. I'll have more pads up here, smaller pads, and it kind of goes up in a nice triangle shape to make it look like a real natural tree. I'm really interested to see what this tree's going to look like. Now that's some good root growth. So you can tell this tree is totally pot bound. But it's good. I mean, it's good, healthy root growth. Everything looks alive from the outside at least. I'm going to have a lot to cut off, and we'll be good to go. But I had a feeling that it was going to look really gnarly like that. So, time to get to work. So when a tree's this root bound, you really might want to just go ahead and try to saw that off instead of trying to pull those roots out, because you have plenty of good, hairy, fine root growth here to mess with. So let's see what we can do. Okay, so that's what we're left with. That's all the roots I took off. I'm going to pull these out a little bit, shave them down a little bit more, and we'll go from there. So normally I like to use the chopstick, but these roots are really in there. So I'm just going to use the root rake to do what we got to do. I'm not going to be taking all this soil out, because we don't really have to. All we're doing is giving those roots room to breathe. Some areas you can use a chopstick. These larger roots don't provide any nutrients or water to the tree. What provides nutrients and water to the tree are these smaller, finer roots. So these are just a waste of energy. So if they're not attached to a larger group of fine roots that you need, just get rid of them. I'm just going to go around the edges here and just shave this off. Like even that is a large root compared to all the really good fine roots that I have. And it's not shown in the bari. I don't need it. Okay, so that's all we're going to do on the roots. So this tree is going in this pot here. So as you can see, it's going to be potted right about there, give or take, but it has plenty of room to grow down below. Alright, now we got a proper pot. And we're properly screened. These two are the same wire right here, these two, and these two here are the same wire. I'm going to attach this wire to that wire, and this end to that end, which just helps with stability. So this soil is a mix of pine bark fines, akadama, lava, and Tortoise, which is calcium clay. Okay, so we line the bottom, and I make sure I have a mound in the middle here, because you're going to push that tree down and kind of twist it in there. Okay, so now we have a tree. I'm just going to kind of push it. I'm going to put it down there, kind of twist it in, and let that soil push down on its own underneath. Okay, that tree's in there. And it's actually sitting a little higher than it was before, which I think is good. We're going to throw a little bit more soil in there to fill in these gaps along the side before I tie it down. Anytime you add new soil when you're repotting, you really want to make sure that you push that down in between the roots. You don't want any air spaces in there. Now this is not the final layer of soil, but still, you want to get that good and down in there. And you don't want to jab it. Just kind of push it around, twist that chopstick down so things fall through the holes. So if you see here, when I do this, a lot of the soil is falling in, which is good because that means you're filling the gaps. Okay, so you can see we have a lot more soil to put in here, but for now that's good. I'm going to tie this thing down. And what's good is I have plenty of good nabari on this thing, so I can hide these wires pretty good. and not have to worry about wires showing. But there's tricks you have to kind of find, and it depends on the tree. So like this one, I got to kind of weave it in here. Find a good set of gin pliers to kind of grab it from the other side. Pull it through. So this is that wire from this side of the pot that I pulled through, and I want to attach it to this wire here from the other side of the pot. So this one I'm going to weave it underneath this root, grab it without messing that root up. And then I'm going to go underneath this root as well. So now, these two wires meet right there, and I can pull them together. And then they're opposite sides of the pot. Okay, we'll just leave that there for now. We'll get the other side and do basically the same thing. So I tied these together, very cursory. They're not very tight at all. What I'm going to do now, just to make it easier to wrench down on those things, just going to clip this here, clip that there, clip these two off here, here. Grab your gin pliers. You want to grab them really good and tight, right? Pull and twist. Pull and twist. And believe it or not, as I'm tightening this one, this other one over here is tightening as well.
You don't want to really wrench down too hard on these, just hard enough so the tree stays stable in the pot. And then when you go to clip the ends off, just clip them off and bend them down. That way you'll never see those wires, and they're basically hidden.
Okay, now for the rest of the soil.
So for the remainder of the soil, after I wire the tree into the pot, I'm really paying close attention to the holes that are beneath the soil that you don't see. So I'm chopsticking all around, kind of feeling to where there's rough spots, and really paying attention to where the holes are. If you leave the holes in there, it could lead to root rot, because water and stuff can just sit in those holes and all that stuff. And you don't want root rot, because you need the roots for the tree to live.
You can water it one of two ways. You can just water with a watering can, which is fine, or you can dunk the tree in a tray of water, like a cement mixing tub or something like that. So if you don't have a cement mixing tub or some kind of tray, go to your trusty turtle tank. These guys. I'll just show a turtle off real quick. There's a cooter. Yep, that's a cooter. Go to your trusty turtle tank when you're sticking your hands in. Make sure you don't get bit by your turtles or your red-tailed catfish that are swimming around here like crazy. But just dunk your tree. If you have if you have a cement mixing tub or something like that, then just fill it to the lip of the tree. So really, all you're doing is letting that tree sit in there until you see the water coming up through the soil. I'm not sure how well you can see that. But this way, if you do it this way, you know that that water is penetrating the soil the way that you want it to. It's filling every single gap. It's coming up through the bottom. This takes a little bit. So if you're holding over your turtle tank like I am, your arms might get a little tired. But I'm not sure how well it's coming up on the camera, but you can see back on this side where the water's coming up and filling all those gaps. And that's it. So now this soil is now thoroughly wet. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure how well that came up on the camera, but this soil is thoroughly wet. The water is seeping around all the edges of this tree and its roots, and you're good to go. So you've gotten every single last part of that soil wet where you wanted it to. Pull it out, and just let that drain off. So when I'm thinking of branch placement, I'm really taking a look at this tree from all angles, up, down, obviously straight on, to see what would look either one, the most dramatic, or two, the most natural. With this tree, I'm going for the natural look. So I want that good top with a nice triangular shape. This will be my first pad right here. Second pad here, maybe not much wiring. Maybe I'll bring that branch down a little bit. All right, so let's go play.
So when I'm wiring Trident, I'm really paying attention to where those buds are, because you don't want to rub up against those buds that you've purposely left there, because they'll fall off and then you won't have the branching that you want. And then also you keep an eye on that wire, because it will cut in, and the wire scars, they don't really bother me too much, but they don't go away as easy as other trees. So you can't really leave it on as long.
So that branch is pretty much where I want it. And as you wire, or at least as I wire, I find branches that I don't want or don't need. So obviously this one branch coming here, it's coming straight down, that has to come off because, well, we don't want branches that hang down.
Another good time to wire these trees is once the leaves have fallen off in the fall, and you can leave it on all winter. That way you really don't need to worry so much about, where your buds are, and they're still left in the tree even though it's dormant, so the branches can still stay in place once you take the wire off in the spring.
Okay, so that's done. So we basically have kind of two pads in a way. Right here, this branch here is dead, right there. Basically how you grow a Trident maple is you plant the thing in the ground, you let it grow to, 5, 10, whatever, how many feet you want, until you get this trunk, the right thickness, and then you chop it. And then what you're going to get is a whole bunch of shoots popping out. This chop here, if you do a small little cut on the inside of that wound, where it's kind of coming together and healing, that will reinvigorate this chop and basically make it kind of come together more. So eventually this whole thing will close. So I'm going to carve that little thing out right now. I kind of cut just a wound around this whole thing that will reinvigorate this, because sometimes these stop healing and just kind of stay like that. So this basically starts this healing process all over again and helps it kind of come together. You might have to do this, sequentially, years for years until you finally get it closed, but it'll close eventually. So next to a good nabari and good branch structure and good ramification taper and stuff, probably the next most important thing is your top, your peak, or whatever you want to call it. And you want to make sure you get that right, because if you don't have the right top, it kind of messes up the whole look of the tree. Now, from afar, that top looks really good, and it'll probably be fine looking at it. But since I'm here and it's my tree, I know that this branch structure, the way it comes up here, and all these branches here, are too thick, and it throws off the balance. Because if you look at the thickness of these branches compared to the thickness of these lower branches here, it throws off the balance of the tree. So I'm going to cut some of this back, probably take this top down to about there, but I got to pick my branches the right way, so I don't mess up the look of the tree and I still have that peak.
So the top can really make or break your tree, or the apex, or whatever you want to call it. So when you clip one branch, it could really have an impact on how the tree looks on the branches down below. So when you're clipping that top, really pick your branches with a good attention to detail, because the flow of the tree could be off if the peak isn't right. So you want to really look to see how it compares to the branches right below it, and then keep kind of stepping back and looking to see how your progress is impacting the look of the rest of the tree.
Next time I pot this, probably in another 4 or 5 years, I'm going to try to get into a shallower pot. I could have done it this time, and I probably should have been looking for a shallower pot, but I didn't have any on hand, and yeah, so it went in this pot, which, yeah, I like the pot. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, or at least got something out of it. We'll see you again. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Bye.